Today on the show, I'm speaking with Sabrina Meyers from the Hot Hospitality Exchange. She's been working in different parts of the world, from Singapore to Sydney to London and now in Germany. Fascinating story. And she's now focusing on social media. Learn a lot about how to create content, the online visibility, how to use social media. And we spoke as well about the influencer marketing. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business of Meeting podcast. Today, I'm extremely happy to speak with a world traveler, a world-known person. Sabrina Meyers from Hot Hospitality Exchange has been studying in Australia, working in Australia and London. She's now in Germany. And her resume sounds like the best brands in the world, the Hilton, the Marriott, actually Starwood at that time, IBM through George P. Johnson. Absolutely amazing. Sabrina, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Eric. You make it sound really fabulous. Thank you for that.
Well, that's what you did. So you are fabulous. And then all this experience, I'm sure we're going to learn a lot today. Why don't we start from the beginning? How did you join the industry? Did you know about the industry as you were studying, and how did that happen?
Right. So starting from the beginning, I'm actually born in Singapore, which itself is this tiny island nation in Southeast Asia. And I grew up not really being much exposed to the events industry. I was much more exposed to the hospitality industry. I traveled from a very young age with my father. He was a university professor, and he would travel all across Southeast Asia giving conferences on engineering, some specific kind of engineering. And so he always took my mother and him with him. And so my love of hotels and five-star hotels definitely grew from there because we got to experience it so often during the year. And basically, I knew that I wasn't cut out to do anything like accounting or law or medicine, and that a creative field is what waited for me. And I was trying to figure that out in Singapore. You know, Singapore is very much, they focus a lot on education and, academia. And it's one of those countries where it's in the forefront of everything. So there's always been this insane amount of pressure to really, really do well in your studies. And unfortunately, I was not someone who did well in their studies. I was more of a humanities person. So I loved literature. I loved English. I loved art. And so I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life. And I actually was inspired to join and do my higher diploma at the time in hotel management. So that's kind of where this all started. My brother's best friend was actually studying in hotel management, and he had joined the Ritz-Carlton as director of F&B, and we had all been invited by him. So I was very motivated and inspired by what he was doing. And so I decided, hey, this could be something for me. I love hotels. I'd love to learn all about working in a hotel and what that entails. And it sounds pretty cool. So I signed up to a hotel school called, as a private college called the SHATEC, which is Singapore Hotel Association and Travel Education College, I believe. So don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's changed by now to something else. But back in the day, that's what it was. And that's where it all began. I studied in Singapore. I graduated. Then I moved to Australia to continue studying and get a degree in the subject. And I got my first job, which was in hospitality sales for, at the time, Starwood Hotels. And at the time, I was sales coordinator. That was my first role. Sales coordinator for the 3 MICE properties in Sydney, which is the Sheraton on the Park, the 4 Points by Sheraton, and the Westin, I believe. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I met the most amazing people. I had a brilliant team. I loved doing site inspections. I loved trying to convert groups, all of that. Yep. And I loved selling the hotel. And then I had a couple of personal things happen in my life to do with my mom and dad, and we had to move to Europe. And I couldn't speak a single European language. So I was like, what am I going to do? I'll move to London because everyone speaks English there. So I moved to London, and that's where I continued my career in hospitality. And I started my career actually as a MICE sales manager for the largest Hilton in London, which is the Hilton London Metropole.
Yes.
And I did that for a year, and I absolutely loved it. I met my entire hotel family there. It's a real international crew there, and it was wonderful to really get stuck into it and, be in this incredible MICE property, not just for the UK, but in Europe, it was very, very well known. Yep. So you can really say it was boot camp for MICE at that hotel. Like, you really got into the depth of it. And from there, I left and I joined the leading hotels of the world. So that was a very different role. It was still in sales, but it was all of a sudden in the world of luxury. And I was looking after the proactive sales for MICE for about, at the time, 518 hotels, which were part of their portfolio internationally. So I was basically selling the MICE properties and those that were capable of MICE to local clients like corporate, agency, all of that. And then again, something happened within the company. There was a big change. There was a branding change. There was management change. There was lots of changes that always happens within organizations. Yes. And then the opportunity came about for me to switch sides. And my boss at the time.
When you say switch sides, it's to go to the bright side of the force?
To go to definitely to the bright side, I think. It's not the darker side. It's definitely the more fun side. It depends, It was something, I was at a stage in my life where I could make that decision. And I was like, let's give it a shot. Let's see how this works out. I'm super interested in events. I always helped out with running the events for the leading hotels and wherever I could. So I was super interested in the logistics side as well. So my boss at the time started an agency. He based it in New York because he was based in New York at the time. And he hired me to open the London office. And it was an agency called the Life in Motion Group in London. And so I started that agency. And
hold on, who was your boss? Who was your boss?
Thorsten Meyers.
Of course.
So you know him. So he was my boss. So he basically took me in. And he brought me over to the bright side. And we started this company. And so I was his London head and ran pretty much A to Z of Life in Motion Group. We grew our team to about 4 people before I left. And that's where I started my event management experience and logistics. And we were doing everything, from planning to sales to account management to logistics, everything, name it. And then obviously life happened. I got married. I got pregnant to a wonderful German man. And we decided to move our entire life to Germany, where his family was based, as obviously mine is on the other side of the world. So it made sense to me. Yeah. And I took a year or 2 off. And I decided to come back, and I continued my journey starting with venue sourcing, because I didn't speak enough German to get hired by a German event agency at the time. I was still studying my German to bring it to that proficient level. And I started with venue sourcing, and I was very successful and very lucky with the venue sourcing side of things. I joined an agency, it's an American agency called Global Synergies, which is very similar to the Helms Briscoe setup.
With a wonderful entrepreneurial lady at the helm of it. Exactly,
Pat. She's incredible, yes. And what I loved about it was that it was female run, and it was really supporting entrepreneurship within women, and it was really, really amazing. And it was a small team and a growing team, and I quite liked being part of a smaller team where my voice would be heard, as opposed to one of thousands, for example. So that's why I joined them, and it was an amazing journey, and they were wonderful. And then I decided I wanted to start my own, I guess, independent event planning, business. So I decided to go freelance and offer event management services because I actually had quite a few of my corporate clients that I was sourcing for that wanted me to also do the logistics side and help out on site.
Right.
So I was building up my logistics experience, continued on from London, and I was able to source and do logistics at the same time. All the while, being a very early adopter and a very passionate adopter of social media. And so I was always the one that was advocating that we should be using social media. We should be tweeting everything. We should be tagging people. Why aren't you making videos and posting them? Why is this not on Instagram? I was that person in the room. And I just felt like there was this huge opportunity being missed by event industry professionals and hotels and venues and destinations where the travel agency were doing such an incredible job with the leisure side and the corporate and the business travel side. But on the MICE side, we were nowhere close in terms of social media and using it to just, for free promote anything and everything that we were doing. So I was always a big advocate of that. And that continued. I then got headhunted by George P. Johnson to work remotely, managing IBM's European conferences. And so I was doing by myself. I was part of a team of 5 of us, and we were all remotely placed in Europe and the UK. And we were each doing events up to, I think my largest one that I did by myself was 785 people in Munich. And then I went on to freelance for them because I believe IBM obviously went through a lot of changes. George P. Johnson went through a lot of changes. And my boss and team leader set up her own agency in Hamburg. And so I was then working with them and doing these massive IBM events, which I still continued doing until last year, obviously, before COVID.
Yeah.
But in 2017, in order to sort of drive my passion for social media forward, I basically went onto YouTube looking for someone to follow, someone that was an event planner, someone that made videos of all their experiences and posted them online, and maybe someone that filmed their site inspections. And I found nobody. I found lots of great companies like Bish Bash and, Event MB, and they had wonderful channels, but I couldn't find someone to follow that did what I did. So I thought, well, what am I going to do about that? I'll just be that person.
Exactly.
So I decided to just start making vlogs of all my experiences as an event planner, experiencing trade shows, fam trips, site inspections, all of that. And every appointment, if I could and they allowed it, I would love to, make a little vlog out of it and maybe do like an interview with, the sales team that I was meeting.
So that was
a lot of people
17, right?
That was 2017, yeah. And a lot of people didn't really understand what I was doing.
How many people you have on your channel now that are following you?
At the moment, I'm at about 220, I want to say.
Nice.
But they're all event people because what I do is so niche, right? It's not going to be of interest to really a lot of people. It's not, I wasn't setting out to be someone that had millions of subscribers. But I wanted
Can I just pause here, because I think you said something extremely important for people that are listening.
Yeah.
It's not really the number. It's the number of people in the niche you are trying to reach.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say exactly the same when I had my corporate event company back then in Brussels. I said, I don't care if the entire country knows about my company. I want the top 100 people in the business world to know about it. That's all I want.
Exactly. It's because it's more, how do you put it? It's qualified, it's targeted, and it's a specific community of people that will get what it is that I'm doing, and it will add value to them when they watch it because, it was experiences that they potentially would be doing themselves. Perhaps no one, a particular event person or a professional hadn't attended IMEX Frankfurt. So they were curious, what does that experience look like? So they would watch a vlog and be like, oh, I quite like that. Maybe next year I'll sign up for it,
Yeah.
And so at the same time I think it was 2018, I want to say, my best friend got married in Sydney, Australia. And I knew that I had this one opportunity to do some amazing site inspections and film them. And so one of the first hotels that I did a vlog on was the Park Hyatt in Sydney, which is one of the most incredible hotels in the world. It has an unobstructed view to the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
in front of the Four Seasons.
Exactly. Right in front, like in the little peninsula, right? So I took the opportunity and I said, look, I'm here for a personal trip, but I've always wanted to see this hotel, and it had just gone through a massive renovation and reopening and relaunch. So I did this vlog, and the sales manager at the time, she had no idea what I was doing. Or, I was like, can I film this? And can I film that? And I'm going to put together and make a video for YouTube. She was like, yeah, that's fine, and she had no idea. And I was trying to explain to her that, when I go to this hotel's website, it's actually not as easy for me to find the information that I want from an event planner's perspective. Like, I don't know, like, where the meeting space is in the hotel. I don't know what the views are like from the event space. I don't know the setup. So I love creating a vlog as an event planner, walking through the space with you, and you're doing a site inspection. And I would find that useful if I couldn't fly to Sydney, but I wanted to know what your hotel looked like. Then they could watch this vlog. Makes sense. Save money, watch a vlog. You have more of an insight. So that's what I did. And I remember the team, the next IMAX, the Hyatt team, I was hosted by them, and they were like, we watched your vlog for the property on Sydney, and we actually used it to send it to a client because they couldn't come to Sydney for site inspection. And I was like, you see, that's the whole reason I did it, because for you that added a value, and for that person it added value to see a specific video from the views of a event.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So basically, whilst I was working, I was also very, very active in the space of social media. And I was doing lots of vlogging. I was very active on Instagram, very active on LinkedIn, and very active on Twitter. And Facebook, I just kind of shared everything to Facebook. And I did have a little group there, but I didn't really engage them as much because I was so busy creating content for everywhere else.
Do you have a specific strategy in terms of what you posting on which channel, or you just post the same in every channel?
No, my strategy is to never post the same on every channel if I can help it, because what's really important that I think people don't realize is that people take in information differently on different platforms, and they engage with the platforms differently on different platforms. When you go to LinkedIn, you're in this mindset that you're on a professional platform.
Right.
So what you're going to be taking in should be professional content. So it should be serious, it should be insightful, it should add value, it should be asking questions. You should be sharing some kind of value and information. And so that's how and what kind of content I would be creating. So I would upload my vlog, for example, to the site. And then I would give sort of like, this was my site inspection. This is what I found interesting. This is what I thought perhaps might be a struggle, but from a perspective so that there was that little bit of value. And then on Instagram, I would upload it as an IGTV, and I would do the caption completely differently. Like, this was so much fun, 72 hours in Tenerife, and because it's a lot more of a creative platform, and I could create stories and do a carousel or whatever the case was. So my biggest recommendation on that is that try to cater your content and customize your content to the platform that you're using, because, people are engaging with it differently. And they're going to expect something different per platform. If you keep repeating what you've posted across all platforms, and it's roughly the same community that's following you across the platforms, chances are a few of them are probably going to mute you on some of the platforms because they don't want to see the same thing repeated over and over and over and over, because they could have just seen it on Instagram or LinkedIn and be done with it. And they don't want to have to keep engaging with you 5 times when they could just engage with you the once on Instagram or the once on LinkedIn or on Twitter. So I think that's important to do. And that's what I continue to do. But obviously, as you know, and you've experienced yourself and everyone else, our world came to a grinding halt last year. And for me, no travel meant no content. What am I going to be doing? What vlogs am I going to be making? Yes, I could repurpose my content from my earlier trips and that kind of thing. But we had no idea when we were going to be traveling again or when we were going to be doing events again even. So it was almost like a fight or flight moment. And I had to decide what I was going to do. And I decided to put all my energy and all my focus into making my side hustle my main hustle, which was social media strategy and consulting, but specifically for the events, travel, and hospitality industry. So it was going out there, connecting and collaborating with event professionals from all over the globe, going on about how you should optimize your online visibility. What can it lead to? Why do you need to be online right now? It's the only world that hasn't shut down. If anything, it's gotten more incredible, more collaborative, and louder. So in order for you to really stand out, you need to be shouting louder than everyone else because they're all on here right now.
Do you have like a process where you say, every day I need to spend X hours on each platform or Z hours on reaching out, or is just...
No, for me, it's quite organic. I guess it's different if you... Like for me, it's my main job. So I'm online pretty much the whole day. But what I usually tell my clients is, if they're trying to kind of build awareness, build their online presence and their visibility, then they should schedule or block times where they check into their platforms every day. Mm-hmm. This is very different to when they should be posting, so the time for you to engage it should be looked at something separate to the time that you're posting, because they're two separate things. So when someone asks me how often I should be posting, well, that pretty much depends on the platform. I'll usually say for LinkedIn and for Instagram, usually it's recommended 3 times a week. If you want to really up it, because you're working on a specific campaign or whatever the case is, you can up it to 4 to 5 times a week, depending on what your purpose is with the content and what you want to get out of it. On Twitter, it takes a lot more time. It's one of those platforms that you really have to be on if you want to see some real engagement, and you've got to be very consistent with it because it's like just an ongoing conversation. Very similar to Clubhouse, except Clubhouse, you can leave the room. Whereas Twitter, you're always in the room, right? So it's just whether you speak or not. So that's a very different thing. And then obviously Facebook, how often should you post to that? So 2 to 3 times a week for Facebook. So, and then that's different from engaging. So a lot of times I say, if you're posting 3 times a week on LinkedIn, for example, which is one of the, I would say my power platforms are LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Now kind of Clubhouse is in there, but because it's not that inclusive, it's hard. I don't want to block out a whole group of people. So I go on there moderately and I do what I need to do. And then I continue with all, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I go all to my other platforms. And LinkedIn, if I'm posting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that seems to be when, most eyes are on the prize on LinkedIn in terms of your feed and activity. Then Monday and Friday, I'll spend some time scrolling and liking and commenting and resharing content, because it's not just about me posting content. It's important to share.
You block time to post, and then you block other time to engage. And then, as a matter of fact, I asked you to be on the show because I heard you moderating in Clubhouse, and I thought I really like what I heard and what you were doing. So congrats on that. Now, I'm putting myself in the shoes of a business owner who's busy with so many different things. And obviously, social media is not their main job. And it is something, obviously, that had to be used in terms of marketing and sales and everything.
Yeah.
What is your advice in terms of hours spent, and also how do you put all this content together? You have a team. How you structure, and how would you advise a business owner to structure herself or himself in everything they should be doing as a business owner?
Very good question. Probably the number one question I get asked. Because at the end of the day, time is of essence. It's a commodity. And when you are a business owner, you want to be able to divide your time adequately to all the tasks at hand. And I think number one is that there are a lot of business owners that see social media more as a chore than as an actual marketing channel. So if you change your mindset and you think, okay, no, I'm going to have to actually spend some time and commit some time to creating the right content, to scheduling that content, and to engaging with other people's content as well as distributing my own, then you will see lots of results. Then just trying to figure out how to come up with content and how to manage and schedule it with no real direction or purpose. So what is always interesting that I ask is, and there's two questions in what you asked, right? So
yes,
time, right. My suggestion is always, you have to know that creating content will take time. Structuring will take time. Planning it and scheduling it will take time. But it is a one-time investment per month.
Okay, so once per month. Okay.
Once per month, if you set aside a day, right? And that could be a day divided into a few. So it could be 2 half days. It could be a day. It could be 3 half days. However suits your schedule, right? It's coming up with the content. So actually writing it out, what kind, which other platforms are you concentrating? What are your platforms? And then what do you want to be saying on these platforms and why? What is the purpose of you saying what you're saying? Are you just marketing your product and you just want to show pictures? Or are you running a promotion that you want to get leads for? Are you doing a course that you want to promote so that people register and sign up, perhaps a virtual event? Are you trying to get some kind of lead from your activity on social media? So you need to define what your purpose is. And then once you define what your purpose is, then you can come up with the relevant content. And when you come up with the relevant content, it is a science. If you're going to be doing 3 posts per week, that means you have to come up with 12 posts for Instagram, right? So you should be allocating about 10 to 15 minutes per caption so you can get it right. So it has the right messages in it. So it has the right calls to action. So it has the right image that you want to create that goes with it, or video, or what it should be. It doesn't always have to be a post. It could be 1 post and you could be doing 5 stories, or it could be 1 video and you're doing, 2 stories. Mm-hmm. However it is, but, diversity in terms of content type is really important. You just don't want to have pictures all the time, unless you are a photographer. That's something completely different. But if you're a business owner, you want to give people a big kind of overview of the services that you offer and what you do and what you've done, right? And what you can do. And that's really important to show and illustrate on your social media platforms. And then what you do is, I usually recommend that once it is, the content is made and created and structured. I actually have a course where I teach business owners how to do that. And it's like 90 minutes long. So it's very hard to summarize that into a few minutes. But it's identifying what your content pillars are, creating the content for it with the purpose in mind, then structuring it into your monthly calendar. How do you do that? And what kind of content and how do you structure it? Because there's lots of different kinds of content, right? There's informative, there's promotional, there's all of that.
And are you using tools like Hootsuite or MidEdgar to schedule the post? Yes. Okay.
Yes. So once you've structured it, that's when you can save yourself a couple of weeks of work by just scheduling it, right? So you've scheduled for the month. That means all the posts are ready. I use Hootsuite because it allows scheduling for LinkedIn. And not a lot of other scheduling software allow you to post to LinkedIn. And also, most of them don't allow you to post to your LinkedIn business page. They only allow you to post to your LinkedIn personal page.
Right.
So that's a little tip there. So if you want to use a scheduler, try to find one that allows for LinkedIn if that's one of the platforms that you want to be focusing on. And there's little tweaks here and there where they might not allow it. So once you've kind of scheduled it, then you've got pretty much 3.5 weeks to really not be posting content because it's all kind of lined up. The only time you would, in those 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks, post something yourself natively is if something was announced and you wanted to change, like swap a post out and post something else, right? So vaccine just been introduced. I want to make a post on that. So I'm going to remove this quote that I was going to post and I'm going to, replace it with, the latest update of what's happening and how it's affected our business. Because yes, it's news, but it's always interesting to put your perspective or how does it affect you and how is it going to affect your customers and what are you planning to do about the scenario? So those things. And then it's pretty much rinse and repeat and per platform.
Now, the other question I had linked to that, obviously, it's the time to create that, to post everything. Obviously, there's the option of working with specialists, but not everybody is a large corporation or a large organization. There's a lot of solopreneur, especially now. There's a lot of people now starting in our industry. So what is your advice in terms of building teams? Are you working with freelance or because once again, you have so many hours, you have to make choices and prioritize.
Absolutely. I think it's well worth investing in trusted virtual assistants that can help.
Yeah.
Because obviously they can work around your schedule. They can work when you're not able to work. And they can take a load of time and convenience and create, for example, the visual side of everything for you, schedule it for you. And all you have to do is check and post. You don't necessarily have to take on a social media manager. But, you can go to, for example, sites like Fiverr.com, where there's a ton of social media graphic designers or a ton of social media, not so much managers, but they will, create a set of templates and whatever for you, and they will discuss with you in advance. So I would set aside that time and that money if you don't want yourself to set aside the time to do that, because it'll just make your feeds look a lot more clean. And you will get the message that you want put out professionally on your feeds. And it's not going to look like some random post that you're like scrounging together and you're really just doing it because you don't have that much time. And believe me, I've seen many of these accounts and I don't follow any of them because they don't engage me and there's no purpose to it. So why should I follow? So I think it's important. And if you're, I did a call recently with a client 2 weeks ago, and she was a mother of twins, and she was setting up her own business, and she does business event strategy for businesses that they're not small businesses, but they're looking to grow into the next phase of their business and scale. And so she was wanting to come up with a strategy for her LinkedIn and her Instagram on what kind of content can I create? How long will it take? How should it look? And all of those things. And how do I structure it? And how do I manage it? And I said, you just have to dedicate like a day, like the last Monday of the last week And then you dedicate that entire day, if you can, or 2 half days, to creating the content, to scheduling the content. And then you're pretty much free for the rest of the week if you don't want to invest in someone doing it.
Right.
If you want to have very fancy looking graphics and you don't think that you have Canva savviness or enough Canva savviness to brand your own aesthetic, there are some incredible templates that people can buy from a website called creativemarket.com. There's hundreds of graphic designers that upload templates that are Canva templates that you can then just add your brand colors, type something up, add a wonderful photo, and that's a graphic, So there's ways to make your accounts look, beautiful and consistent and relevant and nice, and in order to present your purpose and your services to how you want. That's completely different to LinkedIn, though. LinkedIn, obviously, is all on you.
Yeah.
So, LinkedIn is about building thought leadership. So the pretty images and graphics will only take you so far. The rest of it lies on you and what you are wanting and striving to be thought of as the go-to on. So your words are a lot more important. Your videos of you speaking or putting native video. If you're doing LinkedIn Lives, I've just recently gotten my tick to go LinkedIn Live, which I've embraced. And, I go LinkedIn Live every Wednesday, talking for 20 minutes on event props marketing, all things digital marketing, social media, and small to medium businesses. And, you have to capitalize on the different functionalities and features that each platform gives you.
I was just asking about what you're saying. There's the buzzword now, influencers. Everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody wants to be a thought leader. I mean, in all seriousness, how much time does it take to really become an influencer? And I mean, it's easy for anybody to say I'm an influencer, but who is really, what is the benchmark? And how would you say that somebody is really an influencer, and what are the KPIs for that?
That's really interesting. It's a very good question. I want to say that it's quite a new, it's not a new term in our industry. As in, everyone knows about influencers because of the travel influencers and whatnot. But it is a new concept that is being considered and implemented in our industry. So what I mean is, now destinations and brands and hotels and venues are like, should we maybe consider influencer marketing? And what does that mean? And how can we use it? Because if I get Kim Kardashian to come to my hotel, that's great. It's going to cost me a lot of money. Maybe I find a micro influencer. That's great. But that's not going to fill up my meeting space. So I'm going to have to find influencers or people that have influence within my community, whether it's my local community or my online community or my global community, that I can bring in to talk about my space from that perspective, that has a captive audience listening to them, of the kinds of customers that I want in my hotel, in my meeting space. That's the person I will hire. That is influencer marketing. So it has a very negative connotation right now, that word, and a lot of people are like, I don't want to be known as an influencer, because it can be quite negative, because it's been made negative because of so many things that have happened. Right.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, influencers are basically, I know if you want to be an influencer and you want to be a thought leader, all that really means is you want to become a trusted voice in your community and your industry on specific topics. So for me, for example, my objective and goal is that I want to be the go-to on anything social media. So if you want to use social media for your business, if you want to talk about social media strategy, if you want to talk about social media strategy for an event, what is that life cycle? When do I start? What do I do? What platforms do I use? If you want to talk about social media for online visibility, for building your personal brand or your professional brand, anything of those points to do with social media, I want to be the first person that you think of. Oh, that's Sabrina. If I hear her name, she's that social media chick. That's right. I'm that social media chick. And that's because I have built and planted little seeds in terms of content on all my platforms consistently over periods of time, giving value, being visible to the community that follows me and continues to follow me and grows, that sees me as that go-to person. That is you establishing thought leadership. That is you being an influencer, but in your space and in your niche.
So how long does it take for somebody who starts now with their own company? The example of the lady with the two twins that you gave earlier on, what is the time frame that she should be looking at?
Well, for her, it's more not so much to become an influencer. It is more to become a trusted voice that potential clients will want to work with. Understood. Right? So it's more the kinds of, for her, it's not like she wants to win influencer marketing campaigns or she wants to do social media campaigns or, the purpose is very different for how she wants to use her content on her platforms. So her purpose is, okay, when my potential clients or my clients see my content on LinkedIn or Instagram, for example, it's going to make sense to them. I'm going to be adding value to them. They're going to want to work with me because of X, Y, and Z for X, Y, and Z. So my content's all going to be about diversity and inclusion and how to, put that into event management and the events that I create. I'm going to talk about business event strategy. This is what you need to do. Do you do it? If you don't, you want to work with me so you can learn about what it is. And then the last one is I want to talk about, I'm like the go-to on mental health, right? I'm a big believer in mental health. These are the things that I practice around my events to do with mental health, to make sure that my attendees are also looked after from a mental health perspective. Do you want to know how to do that in your business and in your events? Well, if you do, then you're going to want to work with me. So it's how do you line up the purposes and then have that, content that, is bullseye to those points, that when your potential client sees your content, they know, okay, this is someone that has been consistently posting on this, and when I say consistently, I don't mean like a few days or a few weeks. So, I always give a time frame of at least 3 to 6 months that you've been consistently doing it. And then obviously if you have a pandemic, everything just goes a lot quicker.
True. because people are in front of the computer more.
Exactly. So they're seeing consistent messages and they're seeing them a lot more often. So it's up to you how much of that you want to capitalize on right now. So if all eyes are online right now and you're not, that's what I have nothing to say to that except
it's brilliant. It's brilliant. So Sabrina, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much. In 1 year, when we meet face to face with a bottle of champagne, what are we celebrating?
We are celebrating the fact that we are meeting face to face. And it will be probably more than one bottle of champagne. I
like that.
It will definitely be the fact that we're meeting face to face, because that's one thing that I'm definitely looking forward to, and will celebrate to the highest degree when it is again possible.
And we'll play again the poster for those watching on YouTube behind you with Daft Punk Airlines around the world.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Sabrina Meyers, for sharing your experience with me today. Truly enjoy listening to all the advice you have, and how you structure your own company is fascinating. If you want to get in touch with me, please reach out on LinkedIn or on Instagram. I am at Eric Rosenberg, same on Clubhouse. And please join us in the Facebook group, The Business of Meetings, where we discuss everything related to managing and growing your business in the meetings and event industry. Have a great day.